Hey everyone, this is Andy Hall. With me, as always, is Jack Paterko.
Hello, Andy. How are you this week?
I don't know, dude. I guess I'm blessed. I'm muddling through my week. I am muddling through my week.
Just one of those weeks where you're limping across the line.
I really am. I am limping across the line. My strategy, and Dan, tell me that this is mentally healthy, Daniel Fisk-Bennett. That I'm just in my strategy. I'm about to turn 53 next month. I just have to hold or maintain or manage my symptoms for another 30 years maybe, and then I'll be okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know if okay is the word that I use, but I mean, very dead maybe?
Okay, so people who
are you just generally describing being alive as managing your symptoms?
I am just yes. This is being alive is basically an exercise of managing of the management of symptoms. That's how a way I look at it. Sometimes
it's a way to look at it,
right? It is. So for those of you who don't know Daniel Fisk-Bennett, Atheists Against Pseudoscientific Nonsense, APN, AAPN, right? Daniel Fisk-Bennett. I mean, tell people what you do, because I'm just saying words and salad right now.
So about 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, holy cow, I created a Science and Skepticism web Facebook group. It just started with a little ragtag Facebook group, 20, 30 of us, and for some reason it just detonated like an atom bomb. And now it's a website. It's a Facebook page, and the Facebook page got way bigger than the group. There's over, last time I looked, 113,000 subscribers to it. There's people that are constantly posting stuff on it all the time. I used to joke I'm just the idiot that started it, but it was amazing to see how many people just wanted to get involved. We had famous names like R and Raw, David G. McAfee. Yeah. They post on there. And we also have actual PhDs and doctors who post stuff on there. And so it was interesting with me, who was just starting out in college at the time, me being this guy going like, wow, I am like the small man on this totem pole that somehow just created this platform that I have these heavyweights that are just slinging.
Right.
And so it's been fun. And as a result, people have, I don't want to make it seem like I'm, okay, it's going to sound like I'm tooting my own horn. So there's no easy way to do this. So people have started to kind of consider me almost an expert on the subject of pseudoscience. I hear the BS nonstop. I get hate mail nonstop, to include today, from conspiracy mongers, anti-vaxxers, just you name it, zealots of, all varieties. And I get to hear the constant string. So I was like, I'm always having to stay in the loop of, okay, what stupid have they come up with today? And why?
So you've had an amazing 4 years or so. 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it really did. When the last occupant of the White House, who I will not name, was there, it really picked up. The steady stream of stupid. It was pretty bad back then because when I first started, because that's when David Wolf and Food Babe and Natural News was still kicking around before Facebook kicked them to the curb. So we still had our hands full with them, but then when the last occupant of the White House came in, boy, the conspiracies really picked up, and we never had an issue with content. We always were like, okay, well, let me just turn on what the news has. Oh boy. So it's like, well, now we're gonna have to go explain why we don't drink bleach.
dude, I don't know. I saw this horrible story on the local news today about a 13-year-old who was trying to do a TikTok challenge, or I don't know if you've heard about this. The sprayed aerosol on a mirror and let the mirror on fire, but of course she got herself on fire and suffered horribly. Have you found yourself trying to keep up with TikTok challenges to debunk them?
You know, with TikTok challenges, a lot of it, for a little while ago, was the hydrophenamine, or whatever it's called, the antihistamine. They were trying to see how many of that you could pop, and Walgreens had to start limiting the amount of antihistamine drugs people could take because that was a TikTok challenge. And as we know, before that, it was the soap challenge. You know, we had the Tide Millennial Wine. So it was, you know, I'm amazed a lot of us survived to adulthood and we aren't all Darwin Award recipients, because I look at the stupid things I did as a teenager, and I do see a lot of that stupidity in all of us as teenagers. It's just they caught their stupidity on film.
Yeah.
Well, I
was
mean,
not so I was more fortunate. My stupid things were not caught on film.
well, they're the generation that's going through all this and having ever-present cameras and microphones everywhere. We didn't have that issue.
Yeah. So for people like me who decided that, oh, I'm going to stick this thing of dry ice in this Gatorade bottle and then hold it in my hand and then wonder why it blew up in my face, and that thing wasn't caught on film, thankfully.
No.
But I still did stupid things like any teenager did.
Well, here's the thing, and tell me, because this is something that my mind rests on, whether or not cameras and cell phones make people more stupid, or are we just capturing more stupid moments?
You could say it's a combination of both. Teenagers and young adults, they're attention seeking. Well, people in general are attention seeking. We'll say it that way. It strokes our egos. I mean, that's why we do what we do. That's why people like to be celebrities. And so they're going to do whatever they're going to do to try to gain attention.
Yeah.
After the Johnny Knoxville generation, when stupidity became really consumable, it became an easy way to gain clout by, let's see, what dumb cringy thing can I do that will get me a bunch of clicks. So
right. So what's the main pseudoscience, what's the main mass hysteria that you find yourself fighting against on the regular now?
Well, obviously the anti-vaccine. That's unfortunately been something that actually has been going on for a while. First, it was measles, mumps, rubella, the MMR. We were having that one for a while, and it seems like everyone has conveniently forgot about that whole one. The vaccines caused the autismus, and now we are dealing with the new right-wing. Don't tell me what to do. I don't want to be used as a guinea pig. Masks don't do anything, people. Conveniently ignoring all the sound science. It's like, oh, we're going to use the whole micron thing. And it's like, yeah, but you completely ignored like the entire rest of the details.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to be covering this story tomorrow for my morning show. And, but I think it was a New York Times article today that even though the story being covered is that the rates are going down, the COVID rates are going down amongst the unvaccinated, they are increasing.
Mm-hmm.
And
and the concern is a lot of these individuals who try to use the whole natural immunity argument, when they do contract the virus, they roll the dice on mutation. And it's only a matter of time till one of these dumb A's, I'm not going to say the whole word because I don't want to get you demonetized, but these jackholes cause another variant, and we lose the vaccine that advantage that we have. And now we are in a new arms race, having booster shots and treating COVID as if it was the next seasonal flu, which honestly, seasonal flu is bad, but COVID's worse. And COVID does things to your body that the seasonal flu did not. And the one that got me, that surprised me, that didn't have a whole bunch of these chest-beating troglodytes freaking out, was the fact that COVID has been linked to ED. And it's like, get vaccinated at least so you can have your pecker work. Yeah.
There, see, we were talking about this the other week. I'm telling you, the whole Pfizer vaccine makes you bigger as a counter conspiracy is a good idea, especially with the ED thing.
They should just have like a whole bunch of like people who are in adult films just be like, yeah, I got the vaccine. I don't know what happened.
Right.
This is the weirdest thing.
Brilliant. I like the adult entertainer, sex worker angle of a marketing campaign. I think that's brilliant.
That was a good idea. Just get some people on that.
I mean, if these people will believe in anything, all you need to do is just convince them to go on a Fox News thing and be like, hey, I got the vaccine and this weirdest side effect. I mean, I now have to get new underwear, and it's like I keep getting it stuck around my knee.
I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Tesla Ranger, Tons of Mice, Dave, B. Glad to see that you're here tonight. D Parks. Glad, and of course MC Fractal. I was just telling Jack before Daniel came on in the backstage. It's MC Fractal is on, and we've known MC Fractal for, I don't know, a long time, to tell you the truth.
6-7 years at least.
It's great to see you, and Grant Farmer and everyone else who I haven't said hello to. But if you got a question or a comment about skepticism or anything you want to ask Daniel about atheists against pseudoscientific nonsense, feel free to in the chat, and I'll try to get to it. So Dan, I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about this on air. And if you don't, then that's fine. But I don't know if we've talked since you had your incident at work where you got
assaulted. I work in mental health care. I work with people who are vulnerable adults. A lot of them have schizoaffective disorder and delusions and other things. So, I mean, it is just every so often you'll have a fluke incident. And unfortunately, it was just me who happened to be the person that the individual lost their grip on reality, and they attacked me. And thankfully, they snapped out of it real fast once they realized what they did. And I really didn't get that hurt. The hospital obviously way freaked out, because that's what we do in healthcare. You always assume the worst, and then they realize, oh no, you're fine. You're just gonna have a bit of a headache.
Well, I'm glad that you're feeling that you seem to be back to normal and doing well.
Oh yeah. It's not the first time I've had my bell rung, and I doubt it'll be the last.
Nice. So this is May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We haven't really covered anything. You work in the field. I've worked in the field for a long time, and it's just good to make note that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Though, of course, it should be every month when you think about it.
And I do wish we as a society put more emphasis on it than we do, and stop treating it as if there was something wrong with somebody. It would almost be like looking at someone who broke their leg and calling them weak. It's like, I'm going to kind of quote something like this. There was a video that came out from a producer called Firefighter Chronicles. I did share it on my page, but it was talking about mental health, and they brought up this great point. It was a skit, and effectively there was a person who broke their leg, and it was because they got hit by a car. And they said, can you imagine if a doctor came in and said, the reason why your leg is broken is because you weren't strong enough, even though you got hit by a car. And a stronger person wouldn't have had their leg broken. Things happen. And no different than like someone who has managed schizophrenia and is not much, in my mind, at least different than someone who has managed type 1 diabetes. It's a condition. You're going to have ups and downs. But if you take your medication, you go to your appointments, and you have the wherewithal to manage your symptoms. Now, granted, obviously, it's going to be a spectrum, But for those people who are lucky enough that can manage their symptoms, you'd never even know. There are a lot of people who have had very successful lives and struggled with debilitating mental health. John Nash is a good example of a brilliant man, Nobel Prize winner, who struggled with paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. Do you think there's going to be an uptick, or have you seen an uptick in terms of people who have issues now that lockdowns are ending? People are getting back into the community, and I found weird. Different anxiety than I usually have. I went to a baseball game a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, wow, I'm outside with people. This feels strange.
There's pretty broad subject. So in the grander scheme of things, in one increase, I'm not going to be surprised to see issues when it comes down to people who had COVID, because there was several studies now that have shown that there is a correlation between COVID infection and increased mental health complications. In fact, it was some of them had all the way up to 1 in 5, which that's kind of scary. Yeah. And these individuals were diagnosed with no small thing, major depressive disorder, dysthymia, and other stuff, anxiety disorders and whatnot. We'll just go down the list. Anyhow, but yeah, that was very alarming to see that major uptick on that. The other thing that is concerning is, yes, some social anxieties. Obviously, when you have a big scare like a pandemic, people are going to be scared to reintegrate after we've been pretty much told ad nauseum that don't go outside, don't socialize, you're going to die. And now we're now told, okay, everybody, coast is clear. That human interaction of that survival instinct is still going to be there. It's like, okay, after all this time, I'm told I'm going to be okay. Are you sure?
I suspect that there's at least a certain percentage of people who had undiagnosed social anxiety problems before the pandemic and started working from home and kind of enjoy it, and now they're like looking at this coming back and they're just like, I don't want to go back to the other way. I like this way.
I saw a lot of
those
memes.
Are the people you have to
I saw a lot of memes, which kind of reinforces what you were talking about there, Jack. It was there was one of the ones that was going around. There was early along in the pandemic, people saying that they had that everyone was freaking out that we were going to be all socially isolated, and they were going, oh, I've been waiting for this my whole life because I'm an introvert. And so it's like, well, that's kind of some unhealthy what projection that you're seeing there. And it makes you really wonder, like, okay, is this their excuse now to withdraw and not have to engage? And now, once this brief moment in history is over, what's going to happen to them? So.
Yeah. I found that my normal coping skills for dealing with people out in the world had atrophied over the last year. I'll put it like that.
Yeah.
If I don't practice them on the regular, they'll just get flabby, like the rest of me. They'll just get flabby.
Absolutely. I mean, for someone like me who's extroverted, it was really hard for me. I was used to going to events, causing chaos and calamity. Right before everything got locked down, I worked with actually the Satanic Temple, and we caused a big disruption in front of the state capitol. Hundreds of counter protesters that made the news. It was great. I had a blast, and I was amazed that with just a few people using some antagonistic attire, how much chaos you could create.
Was that the one where one of the state representatives poured olive oil all over the steps?
Yep, that was Matt Shea. I was up there. I was actually taunting him. There's a video on my personal profile. If you dig around, I was live during the event, and I was, saying all sorts of stuff, and it was hilarious. I actually flagged over a cop to remove one of the people because we had a permit to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they had these people holding up signs that said Satan has no rights and all these other things. And it's like, the irony is not one of us here actually believes in Satan, but all y'all do.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the olive oil?
So effectively what Matt Shea did in his arrogant stupidity. So if for anyone who doesn't know who Matt Shea is, he is, I think, he's the Spokane ultra hard right wing congressional representative. He was even at one point disavowed by the Republican Party, which to get disavowed by the Republican Party for being too right wing, that says something. The one who was effectively encouraging youth to become biblical fundamentalists and take up arms and whatnot. That guy. So, anyways, I tipped him off because it's me, amongst plenty of other religious organizations, because I knew the whole idea was to just cause as much chaos as possible, because they were having these religious invocations and they were being choosy who they were allowing there. And so it was one of those, okay, you have to let everyone or none of them. And so since they got choosy, it's like, okay, watch this. Watch what we can do then. So by tipping off Matt Shea, I knew that he would ring the bells for all these crazy right-wing people. And one thing I know about crazy right-wing people is they cause problems. And they tend to act on their impulses. They don't tend to just show up and be protesters and just hold signs. No, they will do stupid things that are notable.
I believe you being moved by the Spirit.
Right. Oh yeah, I remember him, just sitting there holding up his hands, just mumbling whatever the heck, just in whatever. I couldn't even tell what he was saying. It was talking in tongues, I think is what they call it. That whole thing. But anyways, as I said, he did not disappoint. I knew I had a feeling he would act out like a lot of them do. And so when the procession left the Capitol building, a whole bunch of these zealots were screaming, Jesus won, Jesus won. And I guess to purify the Capitol again, Matt Shea decided to take olive oil, or as we like to say, his salad dressing,
Right.
and dumped it all over the marble steps of the state Capitol building in Olympia, which the state Capitol in Olympia was known for those beautiful marble steps, and olive oil just stained them yellow. And it took like $10,000 of work to clean that up. And I was so happy that I cost that man money.
Well, yeah. I remember when that happened, and kudos to you for that one.
Yeah, and I wanted to do that more, but the pandemic caused an issue, because the thing is, we were talking about, hey, we're going to do this more often because it worked. The first time it worked, and they already took the bait so well. Can you imagine what happens if we show up again? Mm-hmm. Because then the other people will realize, oh no, they're serious. Mm-hmm. So having already that much of a calamity occur that first time, it really emboldened a lot of us, and so we were really disappointed. The whole lockdown and everything happened. But rest assured, I am still talking with members of the TST. I have friends in high places there, and we are planning.
Plotting, scheming, maybe.
Plotting, scheming, sitting there twirling our mustaches.
I love tons of mice. I've been thinking of having my Vax card printed on a t-shirt. That's great. I love that.
If you do that, be very careful what information you put on there, because identity theft is actually very prominent when using that kind of information. It's amazing how little it takes to get identity theft to work these days. Most people could get all they need from looking at someone's Facebook profile. So
wow,
yeah. Well, I mean, if it's okay, so look at this. Security questions that they ask, right? Pet's name, hometown, right? Two things that are always right there on Facebook, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Mother's maiden name. Well, who's on your friends list? So
Not my parents.
yeah. Well, for some people it doesn't always work, but you pick and choose. I mean, if you're looking for a victim, it's like, okay, that person's not going to work. Let's go to the next one. Found one right there. So it's just one of those kinds of things. And so when it comes down to the vaccine card, yeah, you got a name there, you got numbers there. You're giving them material to work with.
Right.
So,
right.
That's why when I did mine back in January, I lined some items out in the edit feature before I posted it. So
very nice, Tons of Mites. Oh, I'll use Andy's identity. Very good.
there we go. Yeah. I would use someone like Eric Trump's thing, because nobody wants that idiot's identity.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not even his father.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So what do you say now that you've been doing the pseudoscience debunking and stuff for this long? Like, you must have found some sort of ebb and flow to it, that like you can kind of look at what's happening now and kind of see the ones that are bubbling below the surface that are like, oh, this one might be a problem.
Every so often I will see something coming a mile away. Others, it comes out of left field. A lot of times the problem is, usually the way it happens is it comes from some stupid celebrity, some mouthpiece, and they pull it out of thin air, and it goes from there. And the thing is, when it comes down to some of these things, it could cause, even when they try to claim that they were joking, it could cause real harm. When the former occupant of the White House started talking about remdesivir, disinfecting bleach and whatnot, there were a lot, actually an influx of poison control for people ingesting disinfectant. Mm-hmm. There was a man, I think it was a man and a woman, and I think the man died when they tried to get the antibiotic equivalent, or the equivalent of remdesivir that's used in aquariums. And and they used that when the former occupant of the White House started floating that stuff.
Okay, so one, I want to say congratulations on the pun. That was probably unintended, about the fish antibiotic and floating that. 5 points, sir. 5 points.
So, anyways, yeah, right.
So were people really using fish antibiotic?
Yeah, someone actually died.
That's not as uncommon as you'd like to think it is.
Yeah, no, there are plenty of cases where people also will get stuff from their veterinarians, and they will use it for them. You more see that with more pain relieving kind of stuff and whatnot. But still,
ketamine.
Yeah. So it's one of those kinds of things that, where there's a will, there's a way, and people will find some things. Yeah, see, there we go. Fish cleaner death.
There it is.
There it is, right in the chat.
Mm-hmm. So,
crazy.
Yeah, I am always amazed. Yeah, as I said, I kind of live by Murphy's law. For any time you idiot proof something, they'll just build a better idiot.
Right. What do you see? Do you see anything percolating that's coming our way? Anything new?
So, the one that's concerning me is percolating. I want to say the whole anti-abortion thing is that's been percolating because it's gaining steam in the South. The other one it's beyond percolating. It's at the point of steeping at this point. Is the preponderance of right-wing evangelical refusal to be vaccinated. It is starting to cement itself, and it's cementing itself all the way to lawmakers. And that's the problem. That's scary. It's turning science even more into a partisan debate. And vaccines should not be a partisan debate. The other one, though, that I'm seeing, which I've been on the fence about, is using masks after the fact once everything's been done. what I don't want it to be used is as a political fodder. When we have people, now I work in healthcare, so I'm gonna have to wear a mask anyways. But when we have our doctors saying, hey, according to what the science is showing in this current condition, if they say, yes, you don't have to wear a mask, and people are still deciding to wear them after vaccinating, is it really to protect them in the same kind of way? Or is it more of a social anxiety at that point? There's still plenty of arguments to be made either way. But what I don't want to see is people on the other side of the fence pointing and saying, like, see, it was never about the vaccine, or it was never about the virus, it was about control. And then there it goes up in the air. And that's one of the things that I get scared about, is the delegitimizing of sound science once they find a straw man. So.
What do you find the best way to fight that kind of tomfoolery, that kind of disregarding of the science?
So a lot of these individuals are they are groupies. They follow pieces. And I would probably say the best way to kind of fix this is to get some of their source material to actually be pressured to relay the actual information. Or at least make a more concerted effort to delegitimize some of these sources, having major networks dropping them. For instance, Fox News. There's a thing called Unfox Your Box that's been going around. You can look it up. It's being kind of floated, and it's just effectively trying to pressure cable companies to remove Fox News from there, because that's a major source of partisan disinformation. And the reality is, convincing an organization like Fox News to start sharing legitimate information is fool's errand. You're not going to convince these people. What you can do is go after the people who broadcast them. You could go, hey, Xfinity, hey, CenturyLink. These people are causing legitimate harm to society, and if you don't stop, if you don't curtail their nonsense, I'm going to stop doing business with you. I'm going to find one of your major competitors that say they will do something about it. And if it could work in a roundabout way, either A, they're going to, Xfinity would say, okay, yeah, I don't want to lose business, so therefore I'm going to start demonetizing them more, go after the companies that air their material on Fox News. Like, hey, I found out that Purina is paying for commercial time. I'm going to message Purina and say, I'm not going to buy your products anymore because you are contributing to the problem. So either A, Fox News will start to flounder because of that under the pressure and slowly go away like OAN into more of the nether regions. Or B, maybe they'll start changing the tune of their whistle. Miracles happen. Not really, but but we could see a first one.
It was true. Well, I wanted to get to this. Beige Price says, I'm going to be using masks during flu season from now on. That seems responsible. Mm-hmm. That seems a responsible thing to do.
You see that a lot more in Asia, like in densely populated areas like Japan, where people, especially when people are feeling ill, it's just kind of a social thing. You put a mask on when you're not feeling good. Hey, I got the sniffles. I'm going to put a mask on because I don't want to spread it, which is a very socially responsible thing. I know when I, going forward in the future, if I have a cold, I'm going to start wearing a mask. I know in the past we didn't. And that's just, and no one really kind of thought about it then. It's like, oh, he's got a cold. Here's a tissue, But it's like, oh no, in the future, I'm going to start having these things. I'm going to start wearing them when I have a cold, or if I have a flu, or a stomach flu. Right. If I'm feeling sick, I'm going to wear a mask, and it could help limit the spread.
Well, Yena or Gina, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm sorry. There's less cases of influenza and influenza-related deaths this past flu season because of masking.
Well, there's actually there has been some really interesting research about this on multiple different things. The masking, yes, the increased hygiene, but also apparently there's something. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something about a virus's ability to have one virus effectively will push out another virus. And it was a very interesting thing. We've learned a lot about science and virology since this pandemic happened and how it kind of affects things. So, but it does go to show you that, yeah, the freaking masks work and hand washing works when you see that colds, flus, other things. I mean, amazingly, I haven't had a cold all year. I do that to be funny, by the way. I don't believe that actually works.
Right. So, but a controversy now is whether or not COVID was natural or grown in a lab. It's been kind of percolating around, but now seems to be bursting through the surface again.
Yeah, no, this is one of those ones that I'm literally just going to sit back and wait and watch. It is China, and we know any government, to include our own, they're not always going to be honest. And I could say that I was in the military for 8 years. I know Uncle Sam's not always honest. And so with that all being said, I'm going to sit back and wait. It could be a combination of both. It's like, hey, maybe they had a bat that was in the lab. We don't know. I don't want to pick any sides on something because there are times where I've been surprised where I will hear, something from one side saying something and then find out that, hey, wait a minute, the other side actually had it kind of right. You never quite know. So in this kind of case,
but there's the working hypothesis that, okay, maybe this was a lab developed mutation or it came from a lab where they were studying the bats or whatever. And there's the full blown conspiracy that they released it on purpose to screw up the election and lose it for Trump. And there's a wide gap there on reasonable hypothesis and crazy. So
if you're gonna wade into a cesspool, there's ankle high, there's knee high, then there's neck high, and then there's over your head. How deep into the crap do you want to get?
What's the craziest piece of pseudoscience and bunk that you've had to debunk? What is it?
Jewish space lasers causing the fires.
Oh yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene for that nugget. I didn't actually. I had to hear her say it. I had to hear it. I couldn't think. Nobody in this day and age could be that. Okay, she is. Wow. And they elected her.
How do you debunk Jewish space lasers?
How'd they know? No. They know about it. Hold on. I got a phone call I got to make real fast. It's just one of those kinds of things that it's like sometimes some things are just so far out there that you just have to I'm not even going to bother trying to debunk something like that. It's just because it is just that. Why would I try to debunk lizard people? Barely 10 million people in the United States believe that there's lizard overlords.
I had
Am I going to spend time debunking
that? I had a girlfriend who believed when we first started dating, and she was kind of a believer in lizard people. And that's like, really? Tell me more about that. She explained it. And the more she explained it, the more she realized it was just
it
insane.
was just way out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so there are some things that it's like I genuinely will worry about people in their mental health when certain rabbit holes, when they go down a certain rabbit hole, there's more to it than just an outlandish false belief. It's okay. I think there's actually something legitimately not being taken care of with this individual. It sounds like they have an undefined psychiatric issue. that they may be suffering from that may need to be looked into it. And so instead of taking them seriously, or saying like, hey, look, this is what they believe in, is what's wrong with them?
Hmm.
And like, where did we go wrong? Why are they not being taken care of? Instead of laughing at them, it's like, oh, there goes my uncle talking about racist stuff again. It's like, no, I think uncle needs help.
That's so. How do you determine the difference?
Well, so I'll put it this way, if someone is just more misinformed and they're just kind of, and you could also say gullible. Some people are kind of gullible, and they are willing to at least have discourse about it. I mean, they can still dig in their head. There's still the backfire effect. There's still plenty of other things that you could still have to factor in. But when you can at least say, okay, I could see maybe why you might think that. There's at least that. But when they go into the fact of delusion, Jewish space lasers, lizard people, flat Earth, things that are just flies in the face of just reality itself, then you need to start asking questions like, okay, what else are they actively feeding into a delusion? What is going on in their life right now that is not being taken care of? When you listen to someone who has, who's been hospitalized, who has delusions, you can hear some pretty outlandish things. And it's like, if you want to think of it like someone who's been hospitalized and they believe in some really crazed delusions, some of the stuff that you hear some of these people like Alex Jones and others seem like just kind of like a watered down variety of it, for what it's worth. But they're the same kind of thing. It's like, if this person was hospitalized, we would be treating them as if they had a delusional disorder.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I think some of these people should stop being taken seriously in the kind of aspect of, hey, look what Jackhole said. It's like, oh, they said that, huh? Why aren't we taking care of them?
Mm-hmm.
Stop taking them seriously in that kind of respect and start immediately questioning, why are they in office? What damage can they cause? And what are the ramifications of someone with a delusional disorder holding public office? We saw we got really close to having, very bad irreparable damage the past 4 years. There was plenty of questions about the former president's or occupant of the White House's mental fitness and how grounded in reality they were. And I know a lot of us like to make fun of that individual, but there are a lot of other times where it just plain scared me that an individual, if he was that primed to believe in nonsensical conspiracy theories, what's to say that that person doesn't believe in a conspiracy theory that then he decides to act upon it in a violent way? Namely, either I'm going to go to war with them, or hey, give me the nuclear football.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with viewing that as a mental health thing is now you've got this entire, QAnon population. And if you start going to the people who are loud and outspoken in that group and start, trying to steer them into psychiatric help, that's going to be, the deep state's trying to brainwash them.
Yeah, well, yes, but the thing is, who's to say also these individuals weren't already mentally ill? Social media has given people a megaphone, and a way for people who have very significant issues to interact with other people who would be primed to take in all that. So delusional people will feed off of other delusional people. It's what they do. And so for those of us who are sane adults and will hear a cabal of pedophiles, cannibals, what? For us, we're just going to go like, okay, no, my brain works and I know I heard stupid. Therefore, I'm just going to go in one ear, out the other and laugh. But someone who's delusional, they're just going to, wide-eyed, and they're going to lap that up. And then suddenly now they're a group of people who are wide-eyed lapping that up. And then now they're a whole collective organization of people. They're going to pool together. And so now you have a pool of individuals who are feeding off of each other in that feedback loop. And I'll have people who scold me for saying this, but I firmly believe a lot of those individuals are already mentally ill, and we cannot normalize it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what happens when you have a large number of mentally ill individuals who've banded together and are feeding off.
Yeah, totally agree. I totally agree. Tons of mice. Interesting. From the chat, I saw an ex posted a blurry pic of on Facebook of Beetlejuice, which she spelled wrong, that she took with her phone and compared it to UFO pics. My solution to that is to have your ex ban you. That's what I found to be very effective.
I think Daniel may have locked up.
Oh, I think he might have. Yes, Daniel. You might want to try to click out and then click back in. That's what I would. This is a live show, everyone. This is just one of the wonders of a live show. I'm gonna take him off the stream for a little bit, and maybe he'll be able to click back in. Yeah, here he is. I think he's back. Daniel.
Sorry about that. Yeah, for some reason
It happens.
dropped out for some reason.
Well, it's the deep state.
Oh yeah, no, they heard what I was saying. They're just over here. Red Robin, the biscuit is in the basket. Move in for the picnic. He's there.
but there's been a lot more talk about UFOs in the news too. Have you had a lot more people?
The thing about UFOs that gets me is UFO. What does it mean? Unidentified flying object. It doesn't mean alien. It just means, what's that? Well, hell if I know. It's well, it's an unidentified flying object. Would you look at that? It could be anything. It could be a piece of those alumina or those shiny plastic balloons that you get. It could be that caught in a nut trap. You don't know. There's atmospheric phenomena that we're still learning. We don't know everything yet. There's plenty of things like ball lightning that we've only just more recently started to get things. Damn demons got it again. Be gone, Satan.
Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying the show.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that you're enjoying the show. We have a variety of people pop in here on Sunday nights, and it's always a fun time, if nothing else. Yeah. I saw a UFO found out 20 years later. It was a satellite burning up as it crossed the atmosphere as it came in. That's interesting.
Yeah. The one that I saw, people saying that they saw UFOs. When they'll see them over the Pacific, they'll be like, "Oh, and it's typical." So it's interesting. There'll be a cluster of areas, and they'll be around the San Diego area, right? And they'll say, well, there's no places where they're launching satellites off the ocean, so why am I seeing something coming up? It's like, well, funny that you mentioned that, because that's the area where the submarines actually test launch their Trident D5 missiles. And those go into space. And so there's no actual hard facility there, but there is a platform of submarines out there that it may be over there, it may be over there. But you know what? It's this general area. This is where they do it. And I'm not saying it's Jewish space aliens, but it's Jewish space aliens. I gotta mess up my hair a little bit more to say that, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Need like a wig or something like that.
You'd probably be making
the
more.
thing is, we can't start a thing about there being Jewish space aliens, because then the Christians are going to want to proselytize to them. Although that could kickstart the space program again.
There we go. Well, I mean, I always kept saying, like, tell the Republicans there's oil on Mars.
Right.
Tell them there's oil on Mars, and I guarantee within the year we will be there with hard platforms, boots on the ground, and we will already have an invading force there.
Nice. See, I didn't know what the limb was up until this point. This is what's great about doing this show, is that there are a lot of smart people in the chat as well as smart people with me here. So I learned things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's one of those kinds of things. I am in science news, though. I am pretty excited about the whole Artemis program coming down. That right there, that should be really interesting, and I'm really hoping that that's going to lead to bigger things, having a more permanent footprint on the moon. Did you not hear about that, Andy?
I haven't heard about that. No, tell me.
So the Artemis program 2024, they are going to be actually putting a space station into orbit around the moon. That space station is then going to operate as a waypoint to make a permanent settlement on the moon as well. They're actually going to be making a moon base, and they're going to be building on that. And the idea is they're going to use the moon as the area to manufacture using the resources there on the moon to send stuff to Mars, because now we don't have the atmosphere and other issues that we have on the Earth. Excuse me.
Yep.
That stands in our way, so we can make bigger objects and bring those up easier.
I did not know that.
Yeah, no, and the whole idea about the Artemis program too, which is going to be cool, is they're going to have women be the first ones to step foot back on there. So finally, we have some equal representation in the eyes of NASA, if you want to call it equal representation. So,
the evangelical in me wants to say that's just white genocide.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm all about that.
This is interesting. Tons of Mice noted that the girl I mentioned claimed she was abducted by the aliens. But if I recall that correctly, said it's sad that her life is so empty that now that's how she defines himself. One of the aspects of conspiracists is that this is, the theory is a way that they get to exercise agency. They get to feel powerful over their own lives. And I think that's an underlying commonality amongst people who hold conspiracy theories, is that this is the way how they get to define themselves and also feel like they have control.
Mm-hmm. Well, one conspiracy theories simplify things, because when you have a complicated subject with a whole bunch of factors and luck and everything else that plays into things, when something happens, it's easier to say, nope, the government did it, and it was, instead of saying, oh no, the climate came together in a certain way, and due to mismanagement and poor response, and something we never came across, this, that, and the other thing happened, which led to this big disaster. No, Jewish space lasers.
Now, there's also there's getting back. It just occurred to me, you're both in mental health, and along with the reasons for people exhibiting these symptoms and stuff, there's also the issue of just shitty therapists who believe this stuff too, that are pushing them in that direction, right? Like when you talk about the alien abduction thing, there's always some hypnosis person who's doing memory regression therapy or whatever.
Our first conversation
making these problems.
Our first conversation with Lucian Greaves on the Naked Data podcast, Jack, which I threw up on this channel, we talked about that because in Harvard back in the 90s, there was this professor named Mack who was pushing that kind of horrible narrative about doing hypnosis so people would recall, alien abductions, which of course never happened. Yeah.
You in every field, you will always have quacks, frauds, charlatans, and cranks, unfortunately. And let's face it. Who was the former housing secretary?
Carson.
Ben Carson. The guy's a neurosurgeon. But have you heard some of the things he said?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was flabbergasted. The grain silo Egypt things, and I could go down the line and just create. It's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna go. I get it. The person has made some strides in one area, but a lot of people are, if they're mentally unwell, they're going to say things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we have to be careful of the halo effect. Just because you're good in one field does not make you an expert in other fields.
Exactly. Which
is why we shouldn't have put a brain surgeon in charge of HUD.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, no, and I was surprised. Like, why didn't we put someone who was in social services? No, you put a brain surgeon who just happened to be someone who ran for president against you. Why? A local chiropractor told me. Oh my goodness, I could go on and on about chiropractors. Chiropractors are the freak offshoot of osteopathy back in the 18 somethings, the late 1800s, and they've been trying to legitimize themselves for the longest time with their quackery, and they've convinced a large swath of society that they are a legitimate practice. They are not. They are not doctors. Calling someone a doctor of chiropractic, I mean, okay, cool. I could go get myself a clergy in Dudism too, and call myself Father Dan. $50 online. I'm not kidding. Go to the Church of Dudism. Go pay $50. You are now Father whatever or Mother whatever in the Church of Dudism, and you could now officiate weddings. I'd show that to Aaron Raw, and he did it, and I had a good laugh about it.
That's great.
But yeah, chiropractors, the things that they believe in, they believe in like energy. It reminds me of Eastern, some of the Eastern philosophy, with chakras and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's got a very Reiki kind of
so they believe in energy
aura
flow.
meditation.
Yeah,
vibe.
so they believe kind
General
of like
woo shit.
they believe like the spine controls like as if it was some sort of wire. It is, but like some energy flow wire that if something gets contorted, it's the source of disease in a way. I mean, it goes down a rabbit hole. Like I've met some people who are in chiropractors who they started out in chiropractic, and then they realize that, oh, this is full of crap. Then they go jump into physical therapy and then become legitimate people. And so it's just like, and that's where the water gets muddied up. Chiropractic takes aspects of real stuff like physical therapy to try to legitimize their bull crap.
Yeah, indeed.
And there's a lot of injuries from chiropractic, by the way, if I want to point that out. A lot. A lot of ruptured, herniated discs, even people who have ruptured their carotid arteries and died.
Yep. You can die. You can die. Yeah, dude. Every single time we have guests on, and it's like, I don't know if we have a full hour, of material here to talk about.
No, I could go on for days and days. I mean, as I said, there's a reason why I picked up the nickname the pseudoscience guy.
So Daniel, you've been on the show before. The last question we like to ask: is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to? Was there a question, not about plugs or where people can find you online, but was there a topic you wanted to touch on that we just didn't get to?
No, not really. I just want to say if you feel like you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's Memorial Day to those fellow veterans out there. Go reach out to somebody. I know Memorial Day hurts. It hurts for me, and it hurts for a lot of other people. And you're not alone. There's a high number of suicides every year when it comes to veterans and mental health, and you're not weak for seeking out help. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right. Wise words. Where can people find you online, sir?
Well, you can find me if you look up Atheists Against Pseudoscientific Nonsense. Just type it in the Facebook search bar. It'll pop up all over the place. There's even fan groups for it. You can look me up online, Daniel Fisk Bennett. I'm all the first Google searches. So I'm not hard to find.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was a fun one.
Yeah. And I learned things from the chat and from you, Daniel. This is why I love doing these shows. Jack Maturka, what's Big Satan doing?
Right now, I think the Satanic State is going to be doing something for Pride. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I've been too busy working on the other stuff while they've been getting that event together. So I know it's coming. Go to the Satanic State, snag a ticket. We've switched over to a pay what you want model, so come check it out. It's definitely going to be fun, I'm sure. Otherwise, nothing that, well, I mean, you'd have to ask Lucian for any of that other stuff. I know that they're doing, I know they sent a letter. They sent a letter to some school district in Pennsylvania over that Supreme Court case that's coming up with the cheerleader who got kicked off the squad.
Yep.
It's like a free speech thing. I think they've got something going on there. I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure what it is. You'd have to Google that one. I'm
Right,
sure you
right,
can find it on Lucian's Twitter somewhere.
And I've heard that Lucian's band dropped their newest album.
Yeah, we did a release party at the Satanic Estate for that this weekend. That was good.
And what's the
party.
name of his band again, dude? We'll plug his.
Satanic Planet. It's with Justin from Dead Cross and one of the guys from Slayer and other people.
Satanic Planet. There you go. I am doing my morning show tomorrow from 9 a.m. and then we're doing an atheist open room. Progressive politics and everything from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. If you want to tune in, we're doing it on this channel. It's going to be crazy. Thanks, everyone. Chat, panel, me. I'm not going to thank me. You can. You don't have whatever. I'm just saying words again. It's late. I got a show to do tomorrow morning. Thank you, everyone.